announce our guest today. For the last 6 years, the cast and crew of Eureka have told stories about a small town filled with some of the brightest minds in the universe. With them, we've learned to grow and explore and instilled a great love of all things creative and all things exploratory. I am super stoked to be able to introduce them today. And with us today, without any further ado, we have writer and showrunner Jaime Paglia. Colin Ferguson. Salli Richardson-Whitfield. Dr. Debrah Farentino. And last but certainly not least, we just talk about favorite Wheaton, Dr. Isaac. You guys know how to play a crowd.
I don't really know them, so.
No, thank you guys for playing with us, the Kings. We appreciated the effort. It was cute.
The shortest Eureka panel in history. That's it.
Thanks for starting them up.
You will get killed for that shot later. I promise.
I can see that.
I'm actually from Montreal. I'm a Habs fan. My team didn't even make the playoffs.
Well,
two of us are going to take you on.
The show's winding down. We've got, what, 4 episodes left to air?
Yeah.
We got, I think, 7 left to air.
7.
Yeah, everything went better than expected. So.
This season has been just enormously fantastic.
You're welcome.
The producer, right? How has the experience been, putting out such a fantastic product as the show is in its, twilight phase?
Oh, what a burden.
I think that we've had an amazing group, especially since season 4. We kind of had to redo a lot of restaffing, and the cast and our crew and our writers have never been better in working together, and it's been such a pleasure to do these last couple of seasons. We didn't know that this was going to be our last season until about 2 days before we were going to be shooting the finale. This huge, giant cliffhanger season finale that was going to set up the next season, which we had been picked up for. So it wasn't like we were planning all of this as coming to the end. The end will have been a little faster than we would have hoped, but luckily we were given the opportunity to have a final episode by our network and studio, which was a great gift considering the circumstances, that we were able to really say goodbye and say goodbye to you guys too. So it's been a great ride. We've had a great time.
It's sort of like you had a really great playoff. And then you just against a force that you just couldn't get past anymore. Even though at the last minute it almost looked like you were going to.
Oh, Will, I don't know if I can understand what that feels like.
You know, Colin, neither can I. Let's call up some of our friends who live and work in Vancouver and ask them how it feels.
Hold on, there's a GoPro down here with just 3D. I want to throw something at it. Thanks, guys.
We're gonna be taking questions from the wonderful folks up here. If anybody who is interested in asking a question of them, there's a microphone right up here that you guys can start lining up behind.
We have one over here too.
Oh,
okay. Two. Oh, there's some there. Excellent.
while they're lining up, what can we expect? What can you tell us about the
He's
rest of
lined
the
up,
season?
he's just short.
I mean, I think that we've had, Sally's episode that she directed last week was and Mr. Colin Ferguson's episode is coming up that he directed, which is also massive. Joe Morton directed an episode this season, and
Jamie directed an episode.
I did the body swapping one. That was fun.
I do like his body swapping
So there are yet more surprises in store. I know that we made you really, really mad at the first part of the season, and I can't understand why, killing off geek gods. But we've got some interesting things coming up. So, I think that you'll be pleased. Keep watching.
I'm glad that you killed off the geek goddess because it gave Grayston and me probably the best scene I had
That is true.
in all the years that we got to work on the show.
Actually, that was one of my very favorite moments, absolutely, from Isaac Parrish's time on the show, too. Will killed that scene with Neil. So, questions?
I tried to save her. We're going to come over here. We have our littlest questionnaire.
Why is Eureka coming to an end?
Yeah, why'd you wreck it, Jamie?
It was my fault. I just drove it into the ground. I think that the network thought that we were going to finish on a high note, and they would rather have that happen, and they wanted to sort of put more of their money behind new shows that they wanted to develop. So they had to make a choice. It was the wrong choice, but they made a choice.
So watch for Wrestling Ghost Hunters this fall on the Sci-Fi Channel.
As a follow-up to that, I know there's always the talk these days of alternate methods of distribution, web outlets, that kind of stuff. Have you guys thought about or pursued any continuation of possibility?
Big contemporary, excellent.
Tabletop.
Well, there should be a tabletop. There should be a Eureka game for sure. I think that we're talking about lots of possibilities, but and we're all kind of working on new projects as well, which are exciting. And so we're not going to say we won't pursue those things, but at the moment we don't have anything hard planned.
Yes. First, I would like to apologize to you, Jamie, because because last week you and I did not do the spoiler alert to people, and we got.
Oh, is that your fault?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also about the Jeep contest. Can you give us the number yet?
I'm not going to give you the final number until the end of the season. We had 7 more episodes to air, so you're going to have to pay attention. But somebody did get it right.
So we're gonna see Colin get pissed at the Jeep leaving again and destroyed.
No,
and
he's trying, don't let him suck you into that. He's trying no, that's very sneaky.
All I can tell you is that Carl the Jeep is going to meet his demise again, at least once this season, and in one of the most spectacular ways that he's ever been.
Carl the Jeep is like Eureka's red shirt.
It's our Carl's our Kenny,
No, red shirt.
Any chance for a movie and showing up on Big Bang Theory?
Well, you guys are. Will can figure out the Big Bang Theory thing for all of us.
Maybe you're booking us on Big Bang Theory.
Why are you liking it all for yourself, Will?
Well, I am hogging it all for myself because I'm afraid that if Colin comes on to the Big Bang Theory as Evil Will Wheaton, they will no longer let me be Evil Will Wheaton. And quite frankly, I would rather be Evil Will Wheaton than Colin.
As for a movie, it's been talked about as a possibility. I think we'll have to figure out the timing and whether it makes sense so we have the right idea to do it. So we're all open to it, though, I think. You guys would all buy tickets to a movie, right?
Would you buy 100 tickets each?
weekend.
It's not enough, sorry.
This message is for Colin. Out of all of the seasons and all of the episodes, which one are you leaving to be your very favorite?
The very favorite? I really like the body swapping episode that we did a couple weeks ago. And I like it because it was really so well directed. Just beautifully crafted. When you work for a master like that, it's just what a joy. And probably the one that comes on, I think, next week, which is Smarter Carter.
Yes.
Where Carter grows a brain.
Oh, is that next week?
I think so.
I love that one.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it's coming up, and it's great. It really is. And actually, the fun part of that episode is, probably spoiler alert, I'm not supposed to talk about this, is that Salli's very talented husband, Andre Whitfield, is going to be guest starring as Allison's brother. That's not awkward at all.
And also Up in the Air, the bank episode, I like that too.
Yeah.
But then I think about like the X-Files, I like that one too. That was a great one, and made parts of Duck Duck. Yeah, what I do.
I love that moment in Up in the Air where Carter's so excited for there to be he's like, we're gonna investigate it, and we're gonna take pictures, and we're gonna collect evidence, and he gets there and the bank's gone, and he's like, yeah, they robbed the bank.
Do you know every episode, Will?
I know a lot of them. It's weird, you know, like I watch these shows that I work on because I enjoy them, but I have so much fun working on shows like Eureka and Big Bang Theory and Leverage that when I watch the episodes, I feel like reconnected to my friends who I'm not with, who I'm not with at home. So when I watch Eureka, it's like I watch for these little things that Grayston does, and I see like, oh, I bet that was probably shot late at night, and things like that, and like I see the set, and I know, oh, they were in the rotunda, so that means that our chairs are probably over here, and Crafty was back there. Like I just know things like that, so it sort of makes me feel less homesick when I get to watch the show.
And I feel like I remember scenes specifically, especially the first ones that we shot.
Yeah.
When we first, like the pilot and stuff,
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember what we were doing. In the first pilot, we had this long scene walking down
In
this.
the White Room?
Yes,
White Room,
and
yeah.
it's all, we don't see anything that's going to be there. It's all going to be effects, but it's crazy hard dialogue, and it's the first time that Colin and I are really working together. And we were so excited when we were like getting those scenes down, because it was, you
We did it
mess up,
quickly,
you
like
have to
2
start
takes.
over, and we're like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember.
And it seems like yesterday. It
Oh,
seems
and I
like
liked you then.
I know.
The memories of it all.
Yeah, before you get to know me, it's
Yeah, it was
it's
great.
like night and
It was
day.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Right before that scene, Colin, and I was on headset, so I could hear what they were saying before
You were
we
on a
started.
Segway, weren't you?
Yeah, I was dipping around the Segway, getting in trouble. But Colin says to Salli, who has just been working on her line, she's got them down, she's so prepared, she's in the moment. He says, whatever you say, don't say Albert Einstein. And she's like, are you effing kidding me? First 3 takes. Albert Einstein. And there,
It's still, tend to mess with people from time to time.
From time to time?
Well, I get what Will's saying too, because when I watched Salli, the one that she directed last, I was so proud of her for how well constructed it was, and to see someone. I was there when Salli directed her first episode. This is much later, and she's done so much more, and so it's just really cool to see people grow like that, and they go like, wow, I was in some way a part of that journey with that person. It's nice. It's really makes you it's warm.
I have to ask, did you two first meet on the set, or did you meet in LA?
No, we met in LA. We met in LA.
Yeah.
Because the scene outside, we talked earlier about Barlow's, when you did that first car scene, that you spent hours in the car. Do you remember in the pilot when they're driving?
I remember going, why are we still shooting this? I think we got it.
But I think that's when we found out we actually had chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a similar sort of temperament for like, we're good.
We got.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we take another question, what are you guys working on next? I mean, I think everybody here is going to be interested in following you guys after the show wraps. So, you guys can give us, a short answer as to what you're working on next.
World domination. We're starting with Hollywood, and we're just going to roll it out from there, territory by territory. I mean, I think everybody's got multiple projects that we're, considering and looking at and developing, and I hesitate to announce anything because the moment I do, then the plan changes. So, more to come though. Certainly more things to come.
Yeah, same. I got something that might happen next week, but I'm hesitant to announce it and then not have it happen. And then I'm a liar.
And I've just been I've done a few guest spots on shows. Working on Aaron Sorkin has a new show for HBO. Did a few episodes of that.
Newsroom.
And
you directed a short.
Yeah, I directed a short film that's in the film festivals right now. And I think for Colin and I both are trying to do some more directing with TV and movies.
Yeah.
So.
It's hard to break in. I'm having a hard time breaking in. You get anywhere?
I know.
Yeah. It's true. It's really tough.
I feel like you directed Eureka, and your own show, whatever.
It's such an easy show to direct.
I know that they have no idea of how hard that show is.
It has to be funny and dramatic and emotional. Oh, visual effects and practical effects.
They don't know.
Oh, God, it's so great. I just ride around in ambulances in LA to wait until the next great gig comes along. It keeps me busy.
She's also a molecular biologist, too, so is that.
She's a trained EMT. You guys know that?
For fun. Just for fun. She rides around saving lives like a superhero, just for kicks.
I'm doing something unbelievably cool, but I'm not allowed to talk about it until probably, I know it sucks, I can't say a word about it. I had to sign an NDA, and part of the NDA was that for every time I mess up and reveal anything from this NDA, I owe the person with whom, or entity with whom the NDA exists, $2 million. I'm not going to make $2 million. I'm not going to make $2 million in my lifetime. Anyway, but this is a really cool thing, and it's something that I was working on a little bit yesterday.
Who are you working on?
Shut up, Tim. I'm doing a face, jerk.
The initials, just the initials.
Shut up. So
that's one of the initials of one of the names.
That's something I'm doing. That's cool. I'm trying real hard to win a game on my web series tabletop. And I'm writing. I have most of June and July off, and I get to write and hopefully finish Memories of the Future Volume 2 and do some more comic writing.
First, I want to thank you all because for many years, it's just been my dad and I watching all these sci-fi shows, and for the first time ever, my mom was watching with us.
Excellent. That's great.
We've seen lots of crazy gadgets and gizmos in the show, and I'm wondering, out of all the ones you've seen, which one would you use in real life if you could?
Teleportation.
Yup.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I hate to wait in lines. I don't like to travel. Don't waste my time. Get me from here to there. I'm done. Teleportation. That's it.
I would make an alternate universe and put all the people I don't like in it. Just leave them there.
I think Beverly Barlow's Nemonizer was also a pretty cool gadget.
That is cool, but I like their diagnostic tools that you just find out, all the medical tools that they had, that was like cure anything or see anything against the brand.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's hit a bunch of these questions, otherwise we're never going to get through.
Can I move this up? It's kind of small.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No, no. Now you can go to the back of the line. You could have asked a question, now go to the back.
All right, well, thank you for making this an incredible birthday again. It's been awesome.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Don't sing to me this year. I was in trouble last year.
Okay.
So. All right. And I was wondering, what was your favorite moment out of all these Eurekas from season 1 to 4.5, whatever?
You asking it to the whole cast?
Yes, all of them. And why?
Holy cow, that's a dissertation.
Well, for me, it's the moments, it's the life moments. It's like, we watched, Salli and Jamie and me and Joe all direct for the first time, and people come into their own. That's the richest thing for us, or for me, that I enjoy. So being a part of people's lives as they grow. So it's a personal behind-the-scenes thing, but that's what I like.
I remember when I was carrying my second child, when I was pregnant, we were doing a scene, and Sheriff Carter is like rubbing my belly, and whenever Colin would rub my belly in the scene, my little boy would kick. Like on cue, it didn't matter how many takes we did, whenever he rubbed my belly, Dre was kicking, right? And that was it was actually written into the scene. But he was actually really kicking every time. So if you see that and we're acting like we're not acting, he's kicking.
Only actor in the cast who always got his cue right.
Oh my gosh, I just love the fight scenes with Allison. Like I think I was a stunt person in a former life, and actually just having Salli direct the episode when Salli played Beverly was just a gift to watch her strut down the hallway, and just the gift of going to Vancouver, because Beverly was a recurring role. I had a lot of time off, so I got to dog sled, salmon fish.
Oh, she's ridiculous. That was in one weekend.
Yeah.
Like every single day, I said, what'd you do? Oh, I deep sea fishing. Oh, I climbed a mountain. Oh, I built a train. It was ridiculous thing.
It's not kidding. So those real life moments it was a gift.
The first day that I went up to Vancouver to work on Eureka, I got there a day before I was actually supposed to begin production, and I went to a table read with the rest of the cast. And I had watched the hell out of the show, so I knew who everybody was from their characters, but I didn't really know who everybody was as a person. And I walked into the studio, and Colin was walking down from his dressing room, and I was like, "It's Sheriff Carter." And Colin comes over and he hugs me and he says, "I'm so glad that you're here. We're so happy that you're on the show. Welcome. We're going to have such a good time." And he was absolutely right. And it was that moment of being immediately welcomed into a family that had been together for so many years, for so many hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, and made to feel like I got to play on the starting line with everybody else, was really super awesome. And Colin didn't have to do that. And now that I know him, I know that that's the kind of person Colin is. But the person who is like, the #1 guy in the call sheet sets the tone for the rest of the show. And Colin created that with me. And I could not wait to get back to the set when I wrapped every single day because of that. And it was just a great place to be.
Incidental side story, my dressing room that I was walking from is a 4-story building, which is one of those, no, it's not.
I will say that actually, it's more of a personal thing for me, which is that my family, my wife, Dr. Ferguson Paglia, who is right over here, with my kids, Zoe and Ian, they made it possible. Christy actually had to have a real job while I was being a writer, and until I actually finally got a paying gig. And my kids have actually not really known a time in their lives that Eureka didn't exist. When we shot the pilot, Zoe was barely 3 and Ian was, barely 1. And I think that we've all gotten to enjoy the show and the whole process together. So they're my favorite fans. Love you guys.
Maybe this is one of those things you hesitate to talk about, but are there any plans for a type of Eureka spin-off?
Honestly,
Yes.
Yeah.
Parrish, Holly, and Fargo travel around the American Southwest in a van solving crimes. Street crimes.
Blowing $2 million,
That's pretty much it, right there. That's the show. I was in those conversations with Sci-Fi, and I do have a concept that I think everybody thought was, potentially interesting. I've got other things that I'm also kind of more excited about. Just at the moment, this is such a sort of nice time to have this entity exist and take a breather, and then we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, can you guys give us any clues in on the season finale of your show? I mean, just anything.
Giant battle where Earth hangs in the balance. Dead Klingons everywhere. And Will gets taken on a starship.
And everybody's like, where'd Dr. Parrish go? And the last thing you hear him say is, I feel strange, but also good.
And as Colin has said in other interviews, his death scene is just so emotional and moving.
You've never seen more blood.
I can't wait to see it all.
There is someone who comes back to help us out.
That's a good tease. There will be and there will be at least one other surprise guest appearance, a cameo of someone who's
Bill Clinton,
friend of our show. That's it. It's Bill Clinton. And you spoiled that one. Thanks.
Okay, well, that really helped me out.
Good. That was so genuine. I'm so touched that he actually put up with all that and then said that really helped me out.
So during the body swapping episode, you got to play a bunch of different characters. Who is your favorite character to play, and then why? And also everybody, who is the favorite swap?
Yeah, probably Fargo, because he's so weird. Like playing other people is it's like playing a person. Playing a Fargo is like playing a toy. Because he's sort of half man, half Muppet, really. All sorts of stuff all the time, and that's really fun to play.
This question's for Jamie. One of my favorite characters in the series, or like background characters, I guess, is Vincent. And I was wondering if there was any plans to make his story character any bigger, and if not, can you give us some insight into Vincent?
Chris Gauthier, who plays Vincent, is amazing. He's a really amazing actor, dramatically as well as comedically. The reality is that we had a cast with 9 major regular series members, and then a number of supporting cast members who kind of became regulars on the show, like Vincent. And whenever he's in a scene, I think he's great. We always wanted to have an episode that was going to be about Vincent, into his backstory, into his personal life more. And there are a couple of episodes coming up where he plays more prominently. It doesn't necessarily explore him as in depth as I think we would have loved to have had the opportunity to do. But it's sometimes it's just about practicality of the cast that you have to work with.
And marching orders too, because the network, but they would never sign off on a Vincent episode.
We were able to do some things in the last couple of seasons that they never would have let us do early on. And like the episode that I wrote for Colin's directorial debut, Your Face or Mine, where that had Eureka Chera, really is the lead in that episode, so that we could free Colin up to do the directing and not have to be in every scene. That took some convincing, because everybody, you sort of feel like, well, if Carter's not in every scene, then the show's going to fall apart. And Colin's been incredibly gracious and supportive of the other cast, having more time actually on screen as well. And
that's one way of phrasing it.
He's really lazy and he doesn't want to work, so we had to do something to fill the time. No, but that, especially, I think that was a turning point where we were allowed to sort of tell stories in a slightly different way, where we could have real A and B and sometimes C stories that were separate from Colin having to be in every one of them.
Is there any moments that you had trouble maintaining your composure, or at least more specifically, what's your favorite moment? If you had something that was just an impossible line to deliver without cracking up, or a moment, or something similar to that.
For me, it was working with Matt Frewer. That weirdo breaks me every time. Like, the script is sort of a loose guideline for Matt. So he's always, like, I remember this thing we were doing he was doing goose calls or duck calls, trying that. He would just, like in the middle of the line. And, he's the guy who I have a tough time with. He cracks me.
Was he naked for that?
Was he naked?
That was Purple Haze. He was naked for Purple Haze.
That was a joy. Carrying Matt's naked body and putting it down in the sheriff's station. He outweighs me.
Like, a lot. The funny thing about Matt is that you don't actually have to be naked, Matt. It's okay. He's like, no, I'd rather be naked. All right.
When we shot up Knights and Men, Erica and Niall and Felicia and Neil and I were in this little isolation chamber thing for 2 full days of production, and it was photographed with a wide-angle lens, so it looks a lot bigger than it actually was. It was really, it was tiny, and to maintain our composure in there, we just kept making those origami cranes, and just over and over and over again. And then Felicia, kids cover your ears, started making origami dicks. And one of the reasons there's a line, somebody says, I think it's Zane says one of Parrish's cranes looks like a duck. It was actually because that actually came up as I was trying to make a crane, and I kept having so much trouble with that piece at the end, and we all got really competitive with who was going to make the best crane, and I made one where the head of it was just looked like a duck, and I was like, look at this one, and now goes, that looks like a duck, and that ended up in the script. ended up on screen.
That's a real test, by the way, that they do. That is part of the astronaut training thing. We use that because it's like, can you over a really long period of time have your first one be as good as your last one? And you have to have that kind of focus and concentration. And we just thought, well, that's brilliant. We have to work that into the story.
Thank you.
Hey, Harmony, you came. Hey! We were talking to you guys over here. Mike and Harmony, guys, just say.
Anyone else? You good?
No, I'm good.
Colin, as a New York Islander fan, and we haven't made the playoffs in recent memory, I feel your pain as a Habs fan for not making the playoffs this year.
I think we were the 3rd worst team in the league. Was that at the end of the season? Yeah.
Well, the Maple Leafs.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And the Islanders. I love the episodes where Area 51 comes to play various sports with Jeannie. If there was a hockey game, who would win, and what would be the nastiest hit on the ice?
Is this pre-Stark or post-Stark? Because we need Ed.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Alternate universe Stark. He's back.
All right, we'll win then.
Yeah, by like 12 goals. And Parrish gets a game misconduct halfway through the first period. It's just not even for anything that he does on the ice. He's just so annoyed with everyone.
He's in the stands.
Yeah.
I live in a small town in New Mexico where they're actually going to build an actual Eureka. I think I talked about Colin.
Yeah, the Pegasus company's
The Pegasus company's actually going to build an actual science town, like a 20 square mile town outside of my town. And I was just wondering.
You'll be safe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was just like, I just wanted to make sure you're not going to be there. I just wanted to know what you guys thought about actually a conglomerate, $1 billion conglomerate, actually making a town based off of science and, discovery. Probably pretty much based off your guys' show.
I think it's amazing. I mean, what we were talking about today, that they're going to be trying to do wireless electricity, right?
Wireless electricity.
How awesome would that be? Just stick something in the ground and get like you'd have like an iPhone with a stake on it. That'd be amazing. I'd like them to figure that out. I mean, if it benefits things and does things properly, absolutely. If it just turns into some sort of military playground, no. That's a waste.
Otherwise, Beverly Barlow's coming for him.
I have to say, this is a private corporation, so not the government.
That's correct.
That's really the future. You know, Bob, there's a rocket that just went up to the space station that was a private corporation. Obama wants that so that we can, the government can focus on going to Mars. Maybe they can have good schools on Mars. We'll see. And I support the space program. Yeah. I'd also like a good public school.
I have something for you.
Oh, okay.
Make sure Fargo's not on that, please.
Pushing buttons.
He's grown.
My question was, and I love your guys' show. Why are you guys so mean to Fargo?
It's not that
because he's an idiot. Because he doesn't deserve to be director of GD. Because Parrish should be director of GD. Because Parrish works hard and is smart. Fargo's just another stupid GD legacy that got promoted because of institutional inertia. Screw that big head weirdo. I don't know what the hell Holly sees in him unless she's interested in power, which is lame.
We could be accused of typecasting on our show.
Signed, Dr. Isaac Parrish.
I think Fargo is actually, what we wanted to do with the whole timeline shift at the beginning of season 4 was to put all of our characters into positions that they would be incredibly uncomfortable in and have to either sink or swim. And one of the things that we had intended to do was actually eventually move Fargo into the role of director of GD over time. And it just, the opportunity to have it all happen at once was so much more interesting dramatically, which is the best thing about sci-fi, is that you can do stuff like that. And I think that, especially with Neil's performances, that we've managed to, I think, organically grow him into the place where now you look at him and you say, yeah, that makes sense. He should actually be running this place. I hope. Yes?
I would like to say you played Beverly Barlow really well as a bad person.
I do. Thank you.
How'd you like being a bad person?
Well, I don't think she was so bad. She, it was I had a great time. Beverly evolved and changed and kind of came in and out. And every time she left, she went to a beautiful villa in the south of France, and she explored and went into deep. It was a gift. It was fun. And actually, season 5, I think one of the reasons Beverly had to come back and kidnap the town was so that Fargo would not be the head of GD anymore. But it was, I really do. To play a character that people love to hate has its good and bad sides, and you try not to take it personally, but I'm grateful that we could redeem her in some way. Hopefully you could see some of her motivation in season 5.
Yeah, I think that her storyline got truncated a bit in season 2 in particular, and going into 3, because in season 1 we had to reorder all of our episodes. Because the network liked some of them more than others, and they wanted this, this is a reality, you want to have your strongest episodes up front, so you actually get an audience to watch. But that made us have to edit out a lot of our storylines, because out of order they made no sense.
Are you going to release them sometime?
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
That's what happened. I think that some of them we ended up putting on the DVDs as deleted scenes, and there are lots more deleted scenes and trimmed scenes and stuff on the season 4.5 DVDs and season 5 too, as well as an ode to Carl the Jeep.
And I have to say, to just second what Will said, I would come in and out, I'd be gone for a while and come back, and then for Colin and Salli and the crew, and I've worked for a long time and been on a lot of sets, and there was nothing like Eureka, and nothing like the people. I think that showed through. There was joy. There was never a bad day on the set, and it was like, these guys, thank you.
I got one more question. Colin, did you do your own stunts?
A lot of them. Yeah. I mean, there's certain stuff I wasn't allowed to do. I wasn't allowed to legally do a driving stunt if someone else was in the car. So if there was another actor in the car, the stuntman had to do it. So legally, I wasn't allowed to do that. I didn't do the 80-foot drop.
No, we didn't do the 80-foot drop, but we had an amazing stunt double for Colin, who you really can't tell them apart when they're next to each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Heath was great, and then Heath broke both of his heels working on Smallville. Doing something stupid, just sort of like leaping off a stage, like waiting bare feet, and just shattering when they hit the cement. Yeah, be a stuntman, huh? And then Trevor, we broke Trevor. Frazier doing a forward roll with a prop and popped his collarbone out. And then I think those are the only two guys we broke. So. But it's weird to see someone who looks like you, dressed like you, like who was doing something that you were supposed to do, and you elected not to do it, and then they got hurt. That's they are by the grace of God, no I.
Yeah, that's the quicker beat number one call sheet.
Yeah.
Great show, love it. One of my favorite episodes, you were all cartoons. What did that feel like?
To shoot an episode a day rules.
I think it's the one time the whole cast is ever completely, I mean, we're all there together because when we did the voices for it, we were all in a circle and we were all there at the same time. So it was
That's not typical of how you usually make animated shows. Usually you would go in on your own schedules and do just your voices.
They
But we
really
wanted you
wanted
to be able to play
the
off each other.
energy and the flow of it, and doing voiceover is always funny because you're not really doing things, but you're running in place and you're trying to have those same reactions with the person there doing a fake kiss across the room.
Yeah, and Matt's the director, and he's like, okay, and then, he's trying to explain to you what's going to happen in the animated episode, and so, you're going to get hit in the head like 3 or 4 times, so you go like, ooh, ah, oh, and you're like, wee, like, okay. I mean, Sal does more of it than I do, so she's more comfortable.
For me, that was, I wanted to do an animated episode forever, and there are certain things that are just the realities of production that you can't afford to do because they're outside of your budget or outside of your sets. And in an animated show, it's hugely expensive and really time-consuming. I mean, like an episode of The Simpsons takes about 9 months to make, and that's a half an hour, and it's one animation style, and they've approved everything. They have all their drawings and their characters and stuff. And we had to make that episode basically from design to delivery in 5 months, with 4 different animation styles, approvals on all of them, shooting it, editing it, making it, and Curious Pictures and Row Round and did that. It was actually, impossible, but they did a great job. So.
What do you think was the worst disaster you guys ever caused on the show Eureka?
Fargo.
It's got to be one of the ending life on Earth as we know. It's got to be a time, right? Like a
I would say the
thing?
one, the Once in a Lifetime season 1 finale, where
the
the timeline
crazy
shift and everything's going to unravel at that point, unless Harvey goes back and changes Henry's or Kim's fate. I think that one.
Yeah.
What's that called? What episode is that? What's it called?
Pilot.
Once in a Lifetime.
There's a deleted scene where Cafe Diem runs out of milk.
If you could meet anyone in the world, who would it be?
If what?
If you could meet anyone in the world, who would it be?
Oh, if I can meet anyone? I'll take that.
I just got to meet William Shatner. Amazing. Last time I was here, I got to meet Stan Lee. I mean, Phoenix has been very good to me. That's how he came on the show. I was going to have William Shatner on the show next season, too.
I hope
I was going to have him, I'll tell you guys this. I wanted an episode where William Shatner showed up and he was Carter's dad. And this was like the U.S. Marshal.
We're both from Montreal, maybe he is.
Actually, there is a likeness. There's
a little bit of life imitating art.
So, Bill, now that we've met each other, you have to come and do the Eureka movie as Colin's dad.
Noam Chomsky, maybe you would like to meet? Maybe.
I met Noam Chomsky.
You did?
Yeah, I used to moderate panels for Cambridge Forum in our life in Cambridge when my wife was there getting a doctorate degree, and I got to do a panel with Noam Chomsky.
Wow.
Howard Zinn, too, that was awesome.
Yeah. I met him at your house.
Yeah. You were at my
my house for that event?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did.
I did.
She had a little drink by that.
I was very memorable.
No, I threw my back out because I had to sit through like 8 productions of Little Shop of Horrors that my children were in, and they were not the best productions ever. And Paul Haggis asked me to like host that for him, and it was kind of a crazy weekend. I'm so glad you were there. Was it fun?
It was really fun. You were lovely.
I'm glad. Was the food good?
It was great.
Okay, how was the bar?
It was lovely.
Okay, I'm so happy. Oh my God.
And next question.
This question is for all of you. For you guys as actors, because most of you are pretty main parts in the show, I was wondering like what key suggestions you had for memorizing all those lines.
Yeah, Salli, what would you do? What would you do?
Oh my gosh. I had probably the hardest time. You had a lot of tech talk too when you came on. But besides, so I'm a doctor. I was a DOD agent for a while. I ran Global Dynamics. All of a sudden, after running Global, I was a scientist, obviously. Because, so I had so much dialogue, and I think it was, I always figure I know my dialogue if I can say it without anyone else's lines in between, and I'm walking around my house, if I can do the laundry while saying the lines, and then still, because of the hard tech talk that some people would continually write for me for some reason, when there was absolutely no reason for that.
Do you remember the day that Jamie wrote that really long speech just to mess with you that wasn't even in the...
And then I put stress on myself because if you're not remembering it, then you're holding up the whole crew, and then it's more pressure. But yeah, he sends it. He doesn't bring it. He has the one of the ADs, come in and bring it and go, yeah, there's some new lines, and it's like a page of just. And I'm like, oh my god, there's no, oh my god, I have 20. There's no way. And then as you go down the line, you're going, hey. None of these aren't words. So I think that, and Colin, who's actually, smart and knows all this science stuff, never does any of that stuff.
All I have to do is go, what?
Like, I'll have a whole page of dialogue, and every once in a while there you go, yeah.
As an actor, I think you have a responsibility to understand what the writers have put down on the page, and it is our job. When I say understand what's been put down on the page, what I mean is a writer is telling a very clear story, and it is it's the actor's responsibility to attach the right intention to each beat in a scene. And when, as an actor, you understand what each piece is about and what everybody is doing, then it becomes very natural, and it becomes a very natural conversation when you know what your character wants out of a scene, or why your character is trying to stop the other character from getting what they want in the scene. Everything makes sense. When I work on Big Bang Theory, they describe it as the music of the scene. And if you were listening to a song and all of a sudden something came out that just didn't fit there at all, then it would throw you out of the scene. And it wouldn't make sense. And if we ever ran into trouble on Eureka, it would be because something, maybe got held over from an older revision, or somebody didn't understand what was going on in the scene. And we would get to that point, and it was like, well, we were playing this great rock-steady ska song, and now we're playing death metal. This isn't right. So when things make sense and you do your homework and just understand what it is you're doing, then you can do it.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that I don't understand? I mean, I don't understand what I'm saying. But
technical dialogue is different. Technical dialogue is something that someone made up that doesn't mean anything at all. And it generally doesn't have a real strong emotional connection to the scene, and it doesn't have a real strong emotional connection to the character. So unless you are like a super nerd, which I'm fairly certain Salli is not, then it's just like, it's stuff that just doesn't have any inherent meaning.
But Joe Morton would always say, well, Henry, he would always say, well, did you look that up? Did you? I said, I've got 20, no. I got 8 pages. I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. I kind of have an idea what this scene is about, and I'm pretty sure it sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
Which is why she got so mad at me when I wrote that monologue, because I actually had to make sense for about the first 2/3, and it was like a whole page. So it's yeah, we got to deal with this diode. We got to put that in there, and the uniformitarianism of the situation, and then that to the power of 11. And she's like, finally she's like, wait a minute, that's not a word. And called me up and was so mad at me. Next.
How do you get along on the show, Eureka?
How do we get along?
Yeah.
Just like this.
Just what makes you friends?
Oh, it's like a family.
Yeah, it's like a family. I think like a family. There's all sorts of I talked about this yesterday. I think in a panel for those who were there. Everybody has flaws and things that they don't do well and things that drive everybody crazy. And the great thing about a show is when you're locked working 16 hours a day, you get to see everybody at their best, and you get to see them at their worst. And it's in accepting them when they're at their worst that you actually are able to accept yourself at your worst. And that's when the family really becomes tight, when you understand what everybody is. And you're like, and yet you know what? We got our day done. And we make it through everything. There's a huge pride in that. And that's what works for me.
Colin, that was beautiful, and now I remember you at the house.
I mean, these guys, especially when you're shooting on set, the writers spend 10 hours a day with each other, but when you're on set, the cast and the crew and the producers, that's 14, 16 hours between hair and makeup when you start shooting. And you spend more time with them than with our families a lot. So ideally, people do get along, and this has been an amazing group that
Hello, my name is Debrah. I was wondering, you come here and we all ask you a bunch of questions about what you do and what you like and what you've done. If you had questions for any of us, if you're ever curious about us, what would you ask the fans who come to see
the
you?
gentleman in the 8th row, I've actually been thinking about this.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it's the hard bit is to get to know people, in a forum like this, but you try to take your opportunity when you do meet people and get to know them a little bit. So it's sort of site specific for me. Do I have a generic question? I wish I did. Like
I do. I'd like to know, you were supposed to bring me an IPA, and it hasn't arrived yet, and I was wondering where it is.
Me?
Now I've done it. I've unleashed the hounds.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think I like, what's been an amazing experience, I think, and I had one today actually with Bucks right here, who I was talking about earlier with Harmony, is that hearing what the show has actually meant to people. That, they have a tradition of watching father and daughter together, and it happened at a sort of a really dark time in their life when their house had burned down, and it was a bonding experience. And I've had a lot of people who have told me, this is a show I get to watch with my daughter and my dad, and you get multiple generations of family. And we don't really have a lot of family shows anymore. So it wasn't by any real intention of ours to create one, but it kind of evolved into that. And if it's touched any of you guys and made you closer to your own families in some small way, then that's the best thing ever.
I guess today, this is my first con, and today I met a woman who served in Iraq, and she watched Eureka on the plane from Los Angeles to Baghdad, and continued watching Eureka in Baghdad, and it made her 10-month tour there so much better. And that's what it's all about. So thank you for creating a show that changed people's lives.
Good job, seriously, for keeping this around. It's been an amazing gift. It's just a privilege to get to do what we do, and we can't do it without you guys. So thanks.
I just wanted to know, how do you feel that you were like or unlike your characters on Eureka, and how are you going to feel leaving behind when the show's over?
What I love most is you do a character for years and years and years. You get really comfortable in that character's skin, and that level of familiarity is something that you don't ditch when you go on to your next role. You insist on it in your heart, so that's what I get to bring with me from the characters. I'll never again want to do something that doesn't feel really, really true, because ultimately you become your character in a lot of different ways. You sort of feel what it's like to really know a character. So that's what I'll.
I think Allison has become, mirrors my life a lot. I have a son and a daughter. I feel that Allison we're very much alike, sort of strong, and I've become more gentle and tender through the years. That usually was my note the first few years. Can you just be a little softer? I guess I had a lot of edge. I think that having to have a love life and children and run a company, it's pretty much kind of like my life. So I thought that Allison was really close to who I am.
Oh, same with Beverly. I kidnap people. I make poisonous teas. But she has better hair and a much better walk than I do.
It's a lot of fun to be Dr. Parrish because he's such a jerk. And for me having to justify why he's a jerk, just to come up with reasons that's normal and okay for him, that he really thinks he's the smartest person in the room, and why can't everyone else just understand that and listen to him? And that is the polar opposite from me. If I ever find myself in a room where I feel like I'm the smartest or near the smartest, I get into a new room, because it's the only way that you keep learning. It's the only way that you keep changing and growing. And I've dedicated much of the last 5 years of my life to telling people to be awesome and be honorable and be honest and don't be crappy to people. And that's not Dr. Parrish at all. Dr. Parrish is just like, do whatever it takes to get to the top. Because why, Dr. Parrish? Because then you're the top, stupid. So I will miss playing him because it was fun to be sort of like a real life troll. But I'm hopeful that whatever comes along next, that maybe it's a character who you don't really love to hate, like most of the things I've done for the last few years.
Thank you.
It's time for about one more.
Hi, I'm Allie. I met you guys yesterday.
Hey.
Hi. So I was really curious. Other than your characters, what other characters do you guys like and why? Like, not you at all. Like, not your character. Who else?
You mean like on the show?
Yeah.
Right. Well, Fargo. I mean, that's
my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, he's so fun. He's such an idiot. And he plays him just with this sort of emotional abandon, which I think is really admirable. And so he's and probably Goche, Vincent. I think he plays that character, which could be it could be such a wallflower of a character, and he plays it with such integrity every time he comes in that I sort of tip my hat to his acting ability.
I think, Fargo.
I love Kevin as Deputy Andy.
Oh, yeah!
I am over the moon for him. I absolutely love him. And Kevin is such an awesome person to be around on the set, and he's so much fun that he really embodies that goodness that Andy has. And I love watching him work.
And he was so terrifying in the opening of the season. Did you guys see him? Yeah. Scary. Matrix Andy.
Well, let's give it up for the cast. You guys have further questions for them, they're going directly down to the exhibitor hall, to the signing area to the right, where they'll be signing autographs and answering questions and talking to folks. So, if you want to head there. Immediately following this, we are also going to welcome up the folks from the Ultimate Geek Showdown too, to do a couple more rounds of that. So.
Great.
Thanks again, guys.